wrong with seeing Gangstas Cry.
G Herbo released his new album PTSD last week. I heard it, and I don't really have much to say in this video because I really enjoyed this album. As someone who preaches a lot about paranoia, anxiety, and stress in general, this album hit real close to home for me. This album, compared to G Herbo's previous albums, Herbert is his name, L. This is a lot more cleaned up and mature. I definitely do think that there's a difference between this output and previous, just in the sense that this one is going in the direction of acknowledged stress, while at the same time not losing what made G Herbo appealing in the first place. Maturing without completely straying away from your roots. I think he's done that successfully here. And Herbo in this album comes as a young man from the street, but he isn't groomed, he isn't well put together. There's no formula, there's no calculation, not that he's trying to be. The feeling that I get from him is something that I'd get from someone who didn't expect to make it out of the hood from just rapping alone. But he's like the definition of come as you are. And that lack of rap etiquette can also be heard in a lot of the way he tackles these beats. One of the main issues that I hear people run into when they talk about G Herbo's music is how he raps off beat. But from what I hear on this album, that really isn't illustrated by a lack of rap ability, but more in a change of priorities. The way I look at G Herbo's rap style is an avenue for him to illustrate trauma. It works within the beat like a panic attack or like a shortness of breath, so he doesn't come off nearly as novelty or as cartoonish as someone like a Blueface. His flow and his delivery is like a buildup of unreleased stress. A kid who's kept his mouth shut for far too long, and when he finally gets the opportunity to start talking, he doesn't know how or when to stop. And the environment G Herbo speaks on within PTSD is an environment that moves too quickly for you to assess trauma, for you to assess pain. There's no time to be calculated, there's no time to reflect or mourn. So these emotional abrasions, these mental scars get band-aided and normalized and are never fully allowed the time to recuperate and heal. But for as many times as he does use that offbeat kind of panic attack flow to illustrate trauma and pain, the times where he is on beat are fantastic.
Rich, I motivate my niggas like I'm Jeezy. I could leave the house, get caught without my gun. Easy. Valley of the shadow. All these niggas shallow.
It doesn't happen too often, but there are moments where the production is perfect for Herbo. When his word drops at the same time as the drum, it literally feels like a gunshot. Blast in the Face totes these piano keys that are like smothered by G Herbo's warlike cry delivery. The track By Any Means loops a heavenly, woeful saxophone in the background. G Herbo's delivery on this track is like a street fighter that won't stop throwing punches until one of them connects. Or take G Herbo's relentless delivery on the track Feelings, where he keeps hammering himself deeper and deeper and deeper into an Old Alchemist beat. On Feelings, he speaks on the importance of maintaining a non-toxic relationship with the mother of his child, being there for his fallen friend's children, even going on to speak on the importance of independence as an artist. Some of these so great to hear because I'm proud that he's thinking the way he's thinking at his age, but at the same time saddened because you had to go through this much to think this way. It really does act as a completely bittersweet experience. On the track Feelings as well, he manages to talk about how he was diagnosed with PTSD, but he doesn't want to take any medication for it. There are moments like this on the record where Herbo will say something that goes against his newfound information to illustrate how he's not in full recovery mode, or how he's still going back and forth or living in a space in between. Understanding your issues, understanding your diagnosis isn't the same as curing it or solving the problem. And that's illustrated as a subtle point throughout the album, as well as he talks about not wanting to take pills to treat the issue. I really like this album because we don't get into unrealistically curing the diagnosis. We get into an analysis of the symptoms. We get an analysis of what causes these things in the first place from the perspective of someone who realized the memories that he held this long weren't actually normal or a part of life. The content on this album is similar to what I would get from an old Jeezy project. It's somewhat reminiscent in tone to something I might get from a Beanie Sigel. Difference being Beanie Sigel was much more calculated when it came to his rap ability. Definitely a bit of a stronger wordsmith, but the attention to detail when it comes to paranoia is still there within Herbo's music that reminds me of Beanie. And I don't want to go too far with the comparison or anything, but you know, Beanie rapped a lot about kind of being a participant in it, but Herbo raps more about being a participant and a victim, making the album PTSD come off as less of a movie experience and more of a real life issue. I think Herbo absolutely dominates the intro track with the Jay-Z sample. And I like PTSD, I do, but the Juice WRLD hook kind of throws me off sometime. I like the Juice WRLD hook, but I wish the tone were sung lower. At the same time, I kind of want to give credit to it because, you know, the notes that he's singing kind of almost match the guitar in a way.
I got PTSD. Always yelling names, SDCs. I go up my man.
Never mind. Chance redeemed himself on this track as well. I really like his delivery here. The flow is great. What he's talking about is great. I think his presence is strong. The only person I think is the most unnecessary part of this song is unfortunately Lil Uzi. Dude is here for the last leg of it for absolutely no reason to me. And I think they would have done just fine having nothing but Chicago rappers on this track. Lil Uzi just seems so odd. The tracks on this album that I'm not really a fan of, the tracks that kind of hold this album back from being a great experience instead of a very good one, are In This Bitch, where, you know, G Herbo's flow is really repetitive. Lyrically, I don't think he's saying much on this track, and his flow just gets monotonous after a certain point. The beat doesn't do anything else. I like the idea behind lawyer fees, but the hook just doesn't really build up into anything. It's just talking. It's kind of weak. Shooter with Jacquees is okay at best. I'm really not here for G Herbo in the relationship driven cut. And I do think G Herbo could still benefit from varying his style a lot more. Changing his vocal tones and deliveries, I think, would benefit projects and prevent them from getting repetitive, prevent them from having him revisit the same issues, and prevent him from tackling all these tracks in such a similar way. Focus, you know, similar to this, mixed with a bit more of a varied style. I see a really bright future for somebody like G Herbo. I really do. G Herbo, PTSD. That's how I feel about this album. Appreciate y'all for watching. Let me know how you felt about the album in the comment section down below. You know, and I'll see y'all next time. I'm out.